Never. Never in the history of any pandemic so far. As you know, this is the 20th pandemic. Hospitals have ever been closed.
Yes, sir.
This is a response.
That history we have ever experienced of taking any preventive measures like this. So we used to have, say, pandemics worldwide, and I doubt like there used to be any kind of like preventive measures.
That's the sad story, sir.
Distancing or controlling or the best infection control practices. That way, I think like we feel like, okay, we are at the right time and we understand, and then we can intervene to some extent.
The humankind seems to be excelling in terms of adopting the most expensive interventions. Most expensive. The human mankind seems to be excelling in terms of taking the most expensive interventions with minimum effects.
Absolutely. Absolutely, you said that, yeah.
They don't believe in indulging into least expensive with most efficient interventions. That is the tragedy.
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah.
So the answer is we have to change the attitude of the people, no matter which longitude or latitude they are at.
No, I think it's a part and process of constant evolution. I think we have been constantly growing and then upgrading ourselves. And when we look into the bad part of the global pandemics, I think we are still better off than any of those previous exposures.
That's an important statement, but sir, there is no evidence to your statement.
No, like if we go back, nothing like maybe 100 years back, like all plagues and whatever that happened, I think millions of people, they died and there were no statistics, there were no infection control practices, there was no physical distancing. I have stopped saying social distancing from your last couple of versions. And I start talking like physical distancing because there cannot be a social distancing during difficult times.
Any time for that matter. Why difficult?
Yeah, I took it seriously, and then I have started practicing. I have started talking to the people.
Yeah, social distancing is totally unacceptable.
Yeah, it cannot be a social distancing, but we accept the physical distancing is fair. Yeah.
At least I've been able to convert one important opinion leader.
Oh, I will always follow you. Don't worry, sir.
Mr. Samir is trying to join us, so he'll be with us in next 2-3 minutes.
नीचे वाले स्टूडियो वाले हैं ना, स्टूडियो वाले आ रहे, मैडम का जो ड्रेस बनाए, हमारी बैग, मैडम का जो ड्रेस बनाए नीचे वाले, हमारी बैग भी बना रहे, तो उनको ऊपर भेजिए, ठीक है, साइलेंट बता दीजिए.
So Atul sir, same format. We will start with the video at 4 o'clock sharp, and then I'll do a small introduction about our Heal Thy Samvad and what we have been doing just for 3-4 minutes, and then I'll hand it over to you. Ankit will do the intro of the panelists, speakers through the slide, and then you have to take over the session, sir. By 4:45, 4:50, Professor Bajon Mishra will also join, so we'll give him 10 minutes for his keynote address. I'll just say two lines about him, and Ankit will show his slide. Then he will give his keynote address, and we can ask 2-3 questions with him.
So between these two sessions, we keep that keynote session. That's what you're saying? Fair, absolutely.
So we'll try to finish off by 4:50 at least, the first session.
I hope so. I hope so.
4:45, 4:50.
Apparently, like it looks reasonably structured and.
Yeah. Welcome, Professor Banerjee. Welcome, sir.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
How are you?
Sir, good evening. This is Atul Sharma here.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, sir. Good evening. Good evening, sir.
दादा, तो हमारे दादा आ गए. दादा अमिताभ.
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir.
की खबर?
Yes, sir. Fine.
एकोनी की ऑल वे.
Oh, sir. Fine. Can you hear me, sir? It's okay.
I can hear you. I have no option but to listen to you.
Yes.
Now the people have also started joining. We can start the video. Ankit, please.
Can I have the rights to share?
Sumit, can you give the rights to share?
ये वाला लाइट बंद करके देखो.
Ankit given.
Okay. It's easy to, well, if you use the file, it's easy for me to turn the page.
Can you hear me? Are you able to hear me?
Yes, sir, you're audible.
What time does it start?
4:45. 4:45.
Sorry?
4:45.
4?
45.
45.
Yes, sir.
So I can come a little later?
Yes, Professor. Yeah, Professor Mishra. Yeah.
I can come around
4:45.
4:30. So
Yeah.
4:30 I can come?
Yes, sir. Yes. Oh, fine.
Okay, okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I see now. Now? Yeah, it is there. It's there on the top right hand side. Okay, now you can hear me. I see. Thank you.
Hello everyone, Namaskar, good afternoon. I'm Dr. Swadeep Srivastav. I welcome you all on behalf of HEAL Foundation and ICCID in our 9th episode of HEAL Thy Samvad. This is a part of the series of the COVID Fighters Public Health Safety Movement, which we had initiated in first week of April as soon as the lockdown related to COVID was announced and COVID entered India. So now we are in our 9th episode, and this episode, the video which you saw has shown you the picture of what we have done in the last 180 200 days, and it has been phenomenal, connecting to more than 150 experts, key opinion leaders from multiple fields, starting from public health to respiratory medicine to various specialties of medicine, psychiatry, nutrition, celebs, the gurus, everybody combined, we have brought together on one platform, which makes it one of the very unique and largest platform for interactions, deliberations on public health issues, mainly focused on COVID as of now, but going beyond COVID also at times. Like last issue we did on Gandhian values and its role in epidemic management, and it was very, very successful. This issue we come to the current subject and very hot subject of vaccines. That is, and the key issue around vaccine is the accessibility. So we are calling it India Vaccine Accessibility eSummit. One of the key questions, like what has been at the back of our mind has around vaccines, has been multiple type of announcements, discussions, and promises which are happening across the globe, some political, some apolitical, and some scientific and some non-scientific. So we thought we should create a platform to have a deliberation discussion on having more clarity on such issues. I requested Atul Sharma sir to become one of the key persons to drive this. We have with us Dr. Pandav, who has always been our force behind making all this successful. Our colleague, Mr. Pawan and Dr. Ankit, who also worked very hard to bring a beautiful panel of experts. And this program is live on our Facebook Live with hundreds of shares going to thousands of people. It's live on our YouTube Live. And we have shared a link of Facebook Live to everyone, which you can also make it live on your Facebook for your viewers. Here we have a participation on the Zoom, on Facebook, on YouTube, and multiple shares which happen on social media channel. To welcome to our participants in Zoom too, which are growing in numbers now. And then we have, so this reaches out to few thousands of people, all the issues reach out to few thousands of people. For this session, before I give it to our moderator, Mr. Atul Sharma, and introduction of all speakers by Dr. Ankit. So one of the key points we thought was that by what time the whole of India will get access to COVID-19 vaccine. This is one of the big questions which definitely we want to get answer from these deliberations. So with this, I hand it over to Atul sir and Dr. Ankit to take it forward from here. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Swadeep. Thank you very, very much. So before we get into introduction, I welcome the panelist or eminent panelist. I think we have a pleasure of having best of the people on the relevant topic like where do we stand on COVID-19 vaccine as on date globally and when it comes to India. So we will be talking about, or we would like to understand and then learn from these experts like Mr. Samir Dev and Dr. Jadhav, that where do we stand in terms of the CT status? Where do we stand in terms of like being very close to receive the regulatory and marketing approvals? And maybe followed by like, how do you see that once we have access to a vaccine, what will be the issues related to access, both in terms of availability across the globe, pan-India, and what will be the affordability at the level of the government or maybe at the or in the private market, and how much time it may approximately like take where we can vaccinate say 70–80% of the population in the country. Yeah. Because unless like we reach to that level of vaccination, we will not be able to break the virus cycle, like which is constantly like in circulation and proliferating. And that is the time like we can say we have this pandemic under control. Followed by, we will move to session number 2, where we see what will be now the concerns and the rights of physicians and patients around COVID-19 vaccines. We know like we have hundreds of candidates in pipeline, and there are different type of vaccine. The common people understand vaccines as vaccine only. They do not understand the type of vaccines and what kind of like advantages and disadvantages they bring on to physician as well as patients in terms of like twice, like 2 dosing versus 3 dosing, and any issues related to in the real life situation, toxicity or AE events associated with the COVID vaccine. So before we move, I'll request Ankit to introduce our two panelists, Mr. Samir Dev and Dr. Suresh Jadhav. And I will request one by one, both of them to speak on to or give their views onto the topic number one, that where do we stand in terms of COVID-19 vaccine as on date.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
We have Dr. Samir, Dr. J.C. Suri, and Dr. S.S. Jadhav. So I'll start with the brief introduction. So Mr. Samir Dev is a pharmaceutical professional consultant, vaccine and public affairs consultant for Southeast Asia. Mr.
Amit, you are not audible. Ankit, you are not audible.
The voice is still not on.
Am I audible now?
Yeah, better. Yeah.
So Mr. Samir Dev is a pharmaceutical professional consultant with more than 4 decades of experience working with the global leading pharmaceutical companies. He was involved in vaccine introductions and marketing in India for a number of new vaccine introductions and or launches. He is still involved with the vaccine profiles in public affairs and closely works for government policy formation, development in India and WHO Southeast Asia region. Then we have with us Dr. J.C. Suri, who is Director, Department of Pulmonary Critical Care and Sleep Medicine, Fortis Vasantunj. Pulmonologist by training, Professor J.C. Suri is a pioneer of critical care and sleep medicine in India. He worked at Safdarjung Hospital from 1984 to 2018, where he was instrumental in creating India's first holistic pulmonary critical care and sleep medicine department, which he headed for 1990 to 2018. Professor Suri set up the first physician-run intensive care unit in northern India with the aim to provide integrated diagnostic, supportive, and therapeutic services to critical ill patients. He is also regarded as the father of sleep medicine in India and is credited for establishing the first sleep laboratory in the country in 1990. Last but not the least, we have on panel Dr. S.S. Jadhav. He is Executive Director, Serum Institute of India Limited, Pune. Dr. Jadhav, M.Pharma PhD from Nagpur University, started his career in 1970 with research fellowship of CSIR. He held a decade of academic career at the Department of Pharmaceutical Sciences, Nagpur, SNDT University, Mumbai, and Haskins Institute, Mumbai. Dr. Jadhav joined Serum Institute of India Limited, Pune in 1979 and holds the position of Executive Director since 1992. He was most instrumental in securing WHO accreditation for various vaccines of Serum Institute, which is today one of the largest vaccine manufacturers in the world and caters to more than 140 countries, UN agencies, and EPI, Government of India, etc. I'll give the brief introduction of our founder. Dr. Swadeep Srivastava has an experience of 20 years in the healthcare sector. He has his finger on the pulse of Indian healthcare industry. He considers bringing health media to the forefront of the media industry as one of the key highlights of his career. He has set up Asia's largest health writers capacity building program under the banner HEAL, instrumental in capacity building of health writers across India. Our moderator for the day, Mr. Atul Sharma, is the founder and managing director of Healthcare Business Solution Private Limited. Mr. Sharma has over 30 years of senior leadership experience in pharmaceutical, hospitals, and consulting companies. Currently, he offers strategic consulting to pharma companies, hospitals, and allied partner companies. He has also developed and executed India's first disease management program from Apollo Group of Hospitals, which received DMAA USA Award in 2003. He also led antimicrobial stewardship program for Merck and Company, for which Merck received the prestigious Golden Peacock Award and many global accolades. He also developed a hub and spoke model to amplify capacity of access HCV care in India. Our co-moderator for the day is Mr. Pawan Karimbil, Senior Partner at H Connect Solution. As a Senior Partner with Heal Health Connect Solutions, Pawan Karimbil brings with him over 27 years of experience of working across industry verticals, out of which he has over 15 years of experience as an entrepreneur in the communication and consulting space. An astute business leader with a strong technology orientation, being an engineering graduate, coupled with the effective communication and interpersonal skills, he has carved a niche for himself in the PR consulting world. With a pulse on value-based communication solution, he leverages on his rich experience of working across various verticals to collaborate with global corporations on various strategic communication platforms. Over to you, Atul sir.
So thank you very much, Ankit. With this, I will request first Mr. Samite to please let us know that what is the development in and around the COVID-19 vaccines globally as well as in India, and where do we stand in terms of like the CT status, or uh, how close are we to receive the marketing approval? And if you can throw some more light, like what is the tentative timeline by which the people can have long awaited access to COVID-19 vaccine? Sir,
Uh, Thank you, Mr. Sharma. That was a great introduction. Can you hear me? Am I audible?
Yeah, you are absolutely audible, very
Oh,
clear.
great. Now, a great panel of panelists today to discuss the most important thing of vaccine accessibility. Now, I would take clue from Mr. Atul Sharma when he said the vaccination till date was taken to be something till the time a child goes to a pediatrician. And after that, no one could bother about vaccination, particularly in our country. But I think this is a side effect or a positive effect of a disease like corona, which has made us very much uh, conscious, talking about vaccine every time. People are talking, when do you get a vaccine? So awareness is created itself by this dreadful disease. Now I request Dr. Ankit, can I get to, I have a few slides. Ankit, can you help me with the slides, please? Can you help me with my
Please
slides?
come.
Give
Please come
him a
online.
minute.
Slides of Mr. Dev. Slides of Mr. Dev.
Yeah.
Showing.
Uh, yeah. Oh, we have got it now. Can you put it on the full screen, or I can take it from here? Uh, okay. Is it visible to everyone? Okay. Can you take it to full screen, Dr. Ankit? Yeah. Yes. Now, this is what we are talking about. I will take you to a brief of what is the situation of COVID vaccine situation globally, referring to Indian scenario, and of course, what is the timeline we are looking for from global point of view, because we have got expert Dr. Jadhav, who is a master in Indian scenario. Probably he will give us a better insight of it. Okay, now COVID vaccine, first of all, for the general public, why you require a vaccine is individual protection and to curtail a disease. And today, worldwide for COVID, there are about 40 candidates. 10 are registered for clinical trial. They've already gone into clinical trial phase 3, but there are about 200 candidates in clinical and preclinical evaluation going on. First time such experience in the pharmaceutical and the vaccine world. In India itself, 3 vaccines are undergoing phase 3 trial. A Russian vaccine is also about to start a clinical trial in India. Next slide. WHO was awake from the very beginning, and as early as April 2020, launched Act A. I'll tell you what is Act A. This is a landmark collaboration to accelerate development, production, economical, and distribution of vaccine globally. And EC registered same day 7.4 billion euros from the donors when the day Act A was announced in WHO. Global Citizens event organized by WHO in June collected $6.9 billion US dollars. Now you can see how much is involvement. And this Act A is access to COVID-19 tool accelerator. This is a new term being used. It's a new global collaboration to accelerate the development and production of and equitable access of COVID-19 diagnostics, therapeutics, and vaccines. Act A is a group of global health actors. Next. These actors in Act A comprises of WHO, BMGF, Coalition for and Epidemic Preparedness, innovative partners, Gavi, UNICEF, everyone is aware of this, Global Fund, Unitide, which is of Wellcome Trust, and of course, private global partners. Their intention is to work for research and development, policy and allocation, procurement and delivery. So it is a complete function of the product which is to required by the global human. And this newly found partnership can achieve more than what individual countries or individual actors could perhaps achieve with an uncoordinated decision. This is as per previous history. Next. So COVID-19, you will see, requires accelerated pathway. Normal vaccine, traditional program takes minimum 5 years, maybe up to 10 years from the time of discovery, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, commercial launch, and then reaching the vaccinees. It takes about 10 years, 10 years to reach. Whereas for COVID, the process compression has been worked out to from discovery to phase 1, phase 2, commercial launch, and policy guidance to be taken up within 2 years. It can be, and it is now shortened that it must be available within a year's time. That is, we are talking of mid 2021. Next. Now, there are types of vaccines that are being tried. First is COVID-19 candidates are taken from virus vaccine, which is a weakened virus, which is second is DNA vaccine, which is a nucleic acid vaccine. Third is replicating vital factor, viral vector vaccines, and of course protein-based ADA vaccine, which vaccines are also being. These are 4 types of vaccines at the moment undergoing trials in humans. So next one. Now I will tell you how it goes off. Sorry, can you put the slide again? Sorry, can you please, Ankit?
Yes, sir.
Can you put the slide again? It has gone off from my screen.
Is it visible to others?
Yeah. Can you put the slide?
But
Can you?
is it visible?
No, it is not visible. It is coming on a small note here, but
Now?
Yes, please click your Zoom link again, so it will come.
Click Zoom link again.
Yeah, it will come on the screen. It goes sometimes by the click, because we can see that slide, sir.
You can see the slides?
Yes, sir. Yes.
If you can see, then I can tell you. Okay, serial, I have to. If you can see the slide, I can tell you what is the slide on. Now, this platform attributes of the vaccines are different type. It can be RNA, which can be single dose. Now, I can still see the slide here. Okay, if you can see the slide, it shows very clearly that there are 200 vaccine candidates. There, out of that, about 22 are from in the technology of RNA, 12 are DNA, 17 from non-replicating viral vector, which is what is the dosage expected, what will be the license platform, what will be the speed of action, and current scale of situation of these type of vaccines, whether they are inactivated, live attenuated, and protein substitute, they are being tried all over.
Then we have the pipeline side, sir.
Sorry, it has gone off again. I am on your Zoom.
This is on timelines here.
Yeah, but I can't see the slide. That is the.
So this is talking about the status of the first 23 vaccines which are under clinical trial.
Yeah. And
gives us the status onto the WHO pipeline tracker.
Yeah. This is as per WHO pipeline tracker, which has been shown that what is the situation of these various vaccines and what stage they are on at the moment. And if you see the timelines mentioned of all these vaccines are given, and I have been able to track it till October, the situation of various vaccines of tried, which are being tried. You can see the names of these 23 vaccines on the left-hand side and where it has reached. And by October, obviously, the red one is the fastest one, which University of Oxford, and of course, Wuhan and Moderna vaccine of RNA vaccine is going on the fast scale. So that is how the vaccine development is going on a fast scale. Atul, what would be the next one slide? I think.
The next one is tentative timeline for the policy processes.
Yes. Now there are 3 stages. Oh, sorry. There are 3 stages in which I have got 2 more slides, I think, only, on which you'll see the. Yeah, now if you can put the slide, I can see. Timelines, you can see are given here, and the July, you will see July, August, October. If you come to October, first policy guideline to be prepared, and number of countries have going exactly on these timelines, including India, and that is
this will be the WHO guidelines.
This is WHO guideline decided by accepted by all the countries, right? Now October, if you come, which is we are now. This is exactly we are on dot. We are on this timeline. Okay, let's go on to the next. Yeah, if you go to the next slide, you will see what are the factors. The first factor happens to be allocation of framework, which sets the frame for overreaching the public and goals and priorities. And of course, second would be the strategic advisory group of experts, which India has already formed. Third would be regulatory safety and monitoring, which you have been mentioning in the beginning. And fourth goes country. Individual country is the complete master for the final decision on the policy, allocation, and vaccination strategy. Now, that is how a vaccine or present COVID vaccine is going to be made available. Now, next one, if we see, this is a practical slide where why do you need a vaccine and how do you make this coordination in individual countries. WHO had mentioned that time in the media The examples of potential target customers, target groups for vaccination is chosen by elderly more than 65 years, workers in health and social care settings, and of course, 65 with comorbidities, other essential health workers, adult, and of course, rest of the adult population to be taken care of. Now, that is how it is to be planned. And with the next slide shows, have you gone to the next slide, Ankit?
Yeah.
The success factors of H1 and H1N1 and Ebola as the principal and same gives the confidence that when COVID vaccine would be made available, it would be a success because by now we have the experience of establishing a strong governance and a transparent coordination mechanism, provide technical, financial resources to the countries, and built on existing system and tools, and rely on strong partnership at all levels, ensure process flexibility. Now, this is being followed, I can claim on Toto, today is 15th, on 12th, our Honorable Health Minister have already announced or informed his cabinet colleagues that he is planning to have about 400 to 450 million vaccines made available by mid 2021 and to take care of 20 to 25 crore people to be vaccinated next year. And that's how I would close my presentation with a message of the simple message of wash, mask, and of course, distancing, which we have to take care with the coming of these festival months and the winter months. Like Western countries, you have heard, is got a research, COVID has come back in a big way, in a big re-war manner. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dev, for a very lucid and detailed presentation to let us know where do we stand in terms of the overall development for various vaccines, type of vaccines, and timelines, and then which 3 ones are like very close to receive the marketing approval. When we look at the marketing approval, when we see ourselves very close to having up access to initially some type of vaccine, I will request Dr. Suresh that what kind of, now how do we see, where do we stand in India to have access, our supply chain challenges, and the kind of like demand and supply gap to be met like within immediately, overnight, or it will take pretty long time. So we would like to get an orientation from you that where do we stand in terms of like how close are we to the marketing approval, supply chain challenges, and then our ability to meet the gap between the demand and supply. Over to you, Dr. Jadhav.
Thank you, Dr. Atul, and thank you, Dr. Ankit, for inviting me to be part of this panel. I think Dr. Deb has given a very lucid description of the present situation. As my CEO, Mr. Adar Poonawalla, has said that we can make almost about 700 to 800 million doses per year only for COVID vaccine in our additional new facility. So we can increase that, but it will take some time. Fortunately for us, that is all the manufacturers in India who are involved in the COVID development, to give you an idea, there are 3 of them who are already in the phase, 2 of them are in phase 3 clinical trial and 1 of them is in phase 2 clinical trial. And other manufacturers are also joining the race very fast. We expect that the vaccine, the clinical trial results should be available to us by end of or in the second week or end of December. Then that data will be sort of unfolded and then it will be presented to the DCGI for licensing. Uh, I must put on record that the DCGI and all other government agencies, that is Department of Biotechnology and other ministries, have gone out of their way to help the manufacturers to get all the necessary permissions. As we know that Dr. Dev has very rightly explained, that normally a vaccine development takes anything between 8 to 10 years from starting today till the product is launched. Now, this is the first time we want that product very early. But I will say this is not the first time. I will say this is the third time that we wanted this product to be launched as early as possible. We had that experience with the H1N1 vaccine. The H1N1 flu came from Mexico in somewhere in June, July 2009. And by 2009 December, the vaccine from the big pharma was already ready, licensed, and launched. Even the manufacturers from the developing countries did produce the vaccine by end of or by mid 2010, and they also launched the product in respective countries wherever it was licensed. That happened because it was only change of strain. We knew influenza vaccine, we knew the characteristics of influenza, and every year there is a change in the influenza construct in the sense that the combination changes from 2 to 3 strains or 4 strains every year. The WHO informs the manufacturer well in advance. So every 6 months, the manufacturer change their process and gets these new strains and make a vaccine. So that process was in place and the modalities were in place. Therefore, that H1N1 could be launched in the shortest possible time. The second time it happened was during the launch of Ebola vaccine. When there was an outbreak of Ebola in DRC and in other places in Africa, the product which was already in R&D in phase 1 and in phase 2, a special permission was given to launch the product and use it in the affected area in Africa. They formed a circle, and within the circle, all the population was immunized, although the product was still in phase 2, not even completed phase 2. At this time, it has happened for the first time, we didn't know about the coronavirus. When it came from Wuhan, nobody knew about this particular corona and the type of disease that it is going to cause. And that's why initially there were so many deaths, because even the clinicians did not know the complete, I will say, not biology, chemistry, but complete geography of that product, how it affects the human beings and how the disease spreads. Fortunately, the DCGI and other regulators have taken a leap and helped all the manufacturers by changing certain regulations. So we could get all the permissions very quickly and we could make the product. They have also given us permission to start manufacturing the product in case the product becomes available and completes the phase 3 trials successfully, both from the point of view of safety and efficacy. Then there will be a product to use immediately. Our normal regulations makes it very difficult to go this way, because we cannot manufacture anything unless you have the marketing authorization in place. And then only you can start making the product. And then it will take at least about 4, 5, 6 months to make the product. Then get it tested in your laboratory, send it to National Control Laboratory, get it released, and then start the distribution. Fortunately for this product, most of the modalities are in place. WHO has also taken the initiative to form the Act A. In addition to that, there is another facility like COVAX facility, which has been created by Gavi and CEPI, where they have got almost about $8.5 billion. And this money will be utilized for procuring the vaccine for the developing countries mainly and distributing it. Such facilities were never available for any other product in the past. So COVID has this blessing of today's, I think, regulators, international agencies, NGOs, and all the bilateral agencies who are supporting this effort to see that the product comes as early as possible and it could be distributed. As far as India is concerned, we expect to have at least about 2 to 300 million doses ready by end of December. So when the product, if it completes our phase 3 successfully and licensed by DCGI, immediately we can launch this product. However, as you will know that Serum Institute is working on 5 different products to combat the COVID disease. Out of that, one product is AstraZeneca, which is originally developed by Oxford University, which we are manufacturing here. But we have a contract that we will supply this product to Gavi. We have a contract with the Gates Foundation to supply the product to Gavi, and Gavi will make the distribution. But the silver lining is the government of India has also joined the COVAX facility, so they can claim their share from the quantity that Gavi will be procuring, not only from Serum Institute, from other manufacturers jointly, and which will be distributed to all the members who have become part of this COVAX facility. Similarly, we have got another contract with another company, Novavax, who has also developed the product, which is an adjuvanted product. They have used a very novel adjuvant and expect it to be very efficacious. And that product will also be manufactured by Serum Institute in Pune. Besides that, we have developed our own product with the hepatitis B backbone.
Yeah.
On Hansinuela.
We can remain confined to COVID only. Yeah.
Yes. So this is the backbone in which COVID is introduced, and we will make the COVID vaccine. That product has also completed phase 1 and phase 2 in Australia, and now will be launched or we will be starting our phase 3 clinical studies in India.
Dr. Suri, sir, can we have you? Dr. Suri? Sir, Dr. Jadhav, sir, sorry, sir, I'll just invite Dr. Suri. Can we start with you, sir? You're there? Sir, just 1 minute, sir. So the last word will be for Dr. Jadhav to end the session. Sorry, sir, I'm interfering because Dr. Suri has been waiting for long. So, okay, sir, I'll come back to you with the final question, because the most important question is to you, because you are the real manufacturers and suppliers and one of the key players in India to have this vaccine made available for us Indians, which is one of the most important factor today going forward. And so Dr. Suri, sir, Atul, sir, I'm just interfering with
I'll just ask. Yeah, give me that. So I think Dr. Suri does not need any kind of like introduction in this panel. He is a renowned name in the country to establish respiratory medicine, critical care medicine, and he is known as the father of sleep medicine in this country. So I'm not going beyond this. So when we hear, sir, from Mr. Deb and Dr. Suresh, and it looks a very nice and very impressive picture in terms of the timelines. From 8 to 10 years now, we are going to have access to vaccines, say, within a year's time or little more than that. And then supply chains looks pretty promising. How do we see the concern of an expert like you when we are getting a vaccine for a pandemic like COVID-19, which has been developed over a period of just say 12, 13, 15 months? Where do we see, like, what are the concerns and challenges you see in terms of like what you will be looking at, zero conversion, zero protection issues, say that number of booster doses required, what kind of like immunity support it will give. So from a physician perspective, and maybe, I don't know, like how much the patients are aware and what kind of expectation they would have, initially would completely depend upon the experts like you.
Thank you. Thank you, Atul. Atul, nice seeing you after a long time.
Yes, sir. Pleasure,
yeah. So I think it is a very, very important subject, and we as clinicians are waiting very eagerly the development of vaccine, and also when we are going to give this vaccine to the patient. The basic reason is that we do not have, as you all know, a very definite therapy for COVID-19 till now. We have antiviral drugs with the doubtful role. We are using other drug is the steroid. So still with the use of this, we are seeing a lot of acutely ill patients coming to the hospital and in the intensive care unit. Although with the learning of the disease pathogenesis and a lot of clinical trials, randomized trials on various drugs, we have been able to reduce the mortality to some extent. But still, I think the major challenge is we do not have a very effective therapy. Under such circumstances, I think vaccine has to play a major role. And as Mr. Deb and Mr. Jadhav has already mentioned, that a lot of candidates are in various stages of clinical trials. I think this is the fastest we can have so far. 2 months going into phase 1 trial, another 2 months going into phase 2 trial, and now from July and August, in fact, we are into the phase 3 trial. And with this, we expect the results probably to come probably somewhere at the end of the December or maybe the beginning of the next year. So once that happens, and I think looking into the results of phase 1 and phase 2, we have quite encouraging results. And with that, I think we have seen that even the government agencies are willing to invest, heavily into the manufacturing before even the results of phase 3 trial are there, so that we won't be wasting time. Once the results of phase 3 trial come in terms of safety and efficacy of this vaccine, so from there, if you start manufacturing and this thing, it will take another 5 to 6 months. So the government is now investing to overcome this loss, and we will be having, I think, huge amount of doses available by January 1st, by the beginning of the next year. But I think the major question will be, how are we going to distribute this thing, how we are going to, the logistic part of it, see 1 billion country and how you are going to vaccinate so many people, even though selecting high-risk individual, elderly people, healthcare workers, So I think that will be the major challenge, which I see that even though, when there was an H1N1 influenza, again, at that time also, I was a part of the National Task Force and on the advisory committee of the Ministry of Health. So the vaccine distribution, even for flu, was a big challenge. We are only given to high-risk individual at that time. But now I think with such a huge number of people being affected, the major challenge will be how we are going to distribute. And then, if this vaccine, the successful vaccine candidate comes from, say, US or other European countries, what will be the share of India in that, So that will be another thing, because we know that if you give equitable distribution, and I'm sure vaccine given to Indian people, if you look into the risk factors and other thing, the mortality will be much lower. You will be saving much more deaths by vaccinating in countries like India than the same number of people if you are vaccinating in US. So the equitable distribution, availability of this vaccine, I think would be a major challenge. And that as a physician, I feel that once that is available, and then vaccinating a huge number. So if you look into the concept of herd immunity, then I think you need at least 80% of the people to be protected, maybe more, in fact, to be protected either by natural infection or by vaccine to cause or to break the cycle of transmission of this infection. So I think I am looking forward to this kind of a thing very eagerly, and I am sure the way things are going, the so many candidates, and again, we have different platforms in the vaccine. You have here DNA platforms, RNA platform, viral vector, recombinant proteins, nanoparticles. So which one is going to be more effective? Because here the sites which we are going to see, the antigen binding sites, receptor binding sites, and because the different vaccines will have different actually maybe efficacy. That's what we are to see. Although now there's harmonization of protocols, as we see all the different platforms, we have the harmonization of protocol in terms of their endpoints, in terms of their safety data, efficacy data. So it will be easier for us to use the results of one vaccine platform to the other. But then I think it is a big challenge. This is the first time we are seeing a problem of that magnitude in the world, and particularly in our country. So even if we have the vaccine, even if we have the proven efficacy and safety of the vaccine, I think vaccinating such a huge number of people in India would be the biggest challenge, which I think, and we have to be well prepared of it, and the rapidity with which we do it and we achieve that kind of immunity. And then whether we need to give 2 doses. So if you give 1 dose, then again vaccinating such a huge population with the second dose, and then how long that antibody titers are going to last. That is another challenge we have, whether it is going to last for one season or maybe more than that. So all these things I think are the major challenges which I feel we have in front of us.
Sir, one request, sir. We have our keynote address by Professor Bejon Mishra. He's also joined. So my request to Dr. Jadhav and Mr. Dev is, sir, Dr. Jadhav, sir, I think you have been with us for and with a lot of patience. So can I request you to also stay with us for some time, because there are a lot of questions from you, sir. Because Serum Institute is one of the major player, one of the leading player. Mr. Poonawala has become a sort of face of vaccination in India, and
In India, worldwide, yeah.
in the worldwide, in fact. So we have a lot of questions, sir. My request is, if you don't mind, sir, if you can stay with us. With after this keynote, we have the second session and some questions also. We have with us Dr. Meena from NHA, and Dr. Professor Banerjee, a leading community medicine expert, Professor Pandav, one of the leading public health expert, global public health expert. So we have a lot of questions. Dr. Suri, I think just left. Yeah, I had one question with him, but that's fine. So he's left. So with this, I would request Professor Bejon Mishra. Sir, you are there, sir?
Yeah, I'm there. I'm there. Very much there. Yeah.
Oh, okay, sir. So welcome, sir. Namaskar, sir. Namaskar. Welcome.
Namaskar. Namaskar.
So we are continuing
Thank
with
you.
the first session, also jumping to the second session after your keynote address, sir. And your keynote address we thought would be most appropriate to be on COVID vaccine and consumer rights. I don't say patients, because they're not all are patients. They are consumers, you can say. And of course, Mr. Atul Sharma added a perspective of even the doctors' rights, the hospitals' rights, as well as the consumers' rights for around COVID vaccinations. With a small introduction by my colleague Dr. Ankit, we'll request Professor Bejon Mishra to answer a lot of questions related to the safety issues, the efficacy issues, but more than efficacy is safety. Everybody seems to be in a hurry for vaccination world over. And there's some political moves also for being in a hurry. There are commercial reasons also, and there's need also. There's a great need by the society to get the vaccine in place. So with this, Ankit, if you can introduce Professor Mishra, then we can take to the go on to his keynote address.
Sorry, I was on mute. Professor Bejon Mishra is the founder of Jago Grahak Jago. Professor Mishra has been in the consumer movement in India for the last 25 years, starting from Jamshedpur in 1983 as the founder of the Consumer Guidance Society of Jamshedpur. He is a management graduate with marketing as a major from the Banaras Hindu University. He has professional experience for more than 35 years working as an entrepreneur. He is in the board of several consumer organizations and is at present the executive director of a leading consumer organization, voluntary organization in interest of consumer education, Voice, based in New Delhi. He was recently inducted as a member of the newly constituted FSSAI and also in the board of several other organizations like Quality Council of India, Bureau of Energy Efficiency, National Accreditation Board of Certification Bodies, and others as a consumer representative. To you,
Thank
Professor.
you. Thank you, Ankit. You spoke about 2007. You know, this
We'll
profile of
complete
mine
it.
was
Sorry, sorry.
2007.
Yeah,
So that's okay.
This
I moved on, you know, so it's 2020 now. So let me tell you, the brief point is I try to do interventions on policies which are looking into the patient-centric kind of interventions and how we make patient come into the center stage. While I patiently heard all the experts till now, from the time I came in, and I would like to say that as patients or as consumers or as a user of the services, we are very confident that we have the right people at the right place to deliver in terms of the quality, efficacy, and safety of the products which are being administered or made accessible to the citizens. So I would not like to touch on that. And we have been raising these issues from various platforms in terms of making sure that the government only ensures that when the product, the vaccine is made available, it is safe and it covers all the aspects of efficacy and quality. So having said that, I would like to move on in terms of our challenges, and I feel that we are all there only because there are challenges. If there were no challenges, then we would be out of job, and we are there only because there are challenges, and we need to find out solutions and facilitate each other. So my first word would be a strong partnership. So if you want to make it successful in terms of ensuring accessibility of the vaccine in a limited whatever is available, because again it's an issue of a demand and supply which will come. So we'll have to use the best practices to ensure that the top priority people get it the first. And how do you ensure that? And that obviously comes out of a lot of data which we need to ensure that it is credible. It doesn't puncture the credibility in terms of how do we identify those critical mass which needs to be made accessible. So that is the most important thing. So whatever the expert group is thinking about, in whatever model they're talking about, that what is happening in US, what they are talking within WHO, I'm quite keen to know that at the end of the day, whatever is that document, I presume they will make it public and they will ensure that they will seek inputs from the various stakeholders before they start launching it. And that is very, very critical, which sometimes doesn't happen. And most of the time we find moment once it is launched. So we shouldn't allow that to happen again. In our country, we have a lot of good expertise in our country with experts. See, already we have almost 390 million doses administered through the universal immunization program, which is covering, you know, at least now, as I can see, it is covering around 76,000 cold chain equipments, 2.5 million health workers, 55,000 cold chain staff, and it is taking care of 390 million doses in 9 million sessions held across the country, 26 million children and 30 million pregnant women. We are already doing this. We have an infrastructure. We have all the know-how. So there is nothing to worry about. The only issue is how do we build that capacity to ensure that there is an excellent tracing and tracking mechanism in place. And today, the biggest enabler is our technology. And that technology brings it very close in terms of engagement with the various stakeholders. And I am looking at those kind of mechanisms and interventions to come in, where at the lowest level also the people get engaged in terms of accessibility, which is very, very important. And when we talk about the cold chain, when we talk about the quality in terms of the distribution, the good practices, in terms of the good practices in the supply chain, every citizen actually becomes a kind of an oversight in terms of ensuring that no compromise is done in terms of the protocol or the standards. And everything is done in a very transparent manner, not done in a manner where influence comes in, where the person who needs it the most is denied. And the people should not be made to run from pillar to post. How do we ensure that? Which means an excellent feedback mechanism, an alert system, a surveillance system. And these are all in place. Mind you, it's all happening in our country today. The only thing is, how do you upgrade the capacity and ensure that we are able to make it a sustainable effort? And this is where the preparedness has to come from now, right now. In fact, it should have started, from yesterday. But we should do it without fail to ensure that once they are ready, once we are ready with the supplies of around 400 to 500 million doses, once we are ready and we target 20 to 25 crore people to be targeted, then what is that we need to adopt? And I want to tell you all is that I had seen when I was in Jamshedpur, you heard about me that I was born and brought up there. And I saw how Tatas, got involved in terms of smallpox eradication program, which happened in the country. The way the Tatas, lent their best of professionals to the Bihar government. That time there was no Jharkhand. And I still recollect how efficiently they worked. So you have to get the private sector involved. You have to get the best of experts involved. You have to get the good NGOs involved, who are linked with the people. And that is where the actual success story will come. The success story will not come out of a closed room discussion in Niti Aayog. It will not come. You have to make sure Niti Aayog goes out of that room and consults at the lowest level in the block, where elected representatives are there, where very strong health workers are there. How do you inspire them to get engaged to do this? And how do you get that feedback mechanism in place so that at any place, if there is any kind of an error happening, we have to have a good alert system in place so that immediately it is rectified. So this is what I would like to say, that today my message is that we have to be very well prepared to ensure that there is nobody there in that being missed out who are in the target group. And there cannot be any discrimination. There cannot be any kind of an unbiasedness in terms of accessibility. And of course, I have always been saying right from day one, when we went into the pandemic, that we have to have universal health coverage. We have to make sure it is provided free of cost, but not misused. So we have to ensure that that money, which I just heard some of the experts saying that it is there, and we are very lucky and we are very fortunate to have the resources. I hear from the government also that there is no dearth of money in terms of doing this business. Then what do we need the money? Why do we need the money from the citizens? So we have to make sure it is made accessible without any discrimination. And people should bring in that factor saying, wow, this was something which we never expected. And that is what we want to hear from the citizens at the end of the day, by the time we, make ourselves fully humanized. And this is where I'm looking at. So all the work which the scientists are doing, the industry is doing, the government is doing, all the hard work which is going on gets converted into that wow factor, which we call the customer delight. So with this, I would like to thank you all for giving me this opportunity to give this message in the keynote address. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Mr. So nice of you for setting up that expectations, because the vaccine is across the corner. Anytime we are likely to have access, and it will be a reality to see vaccine in very near future. The next challenge is that how do we provide access? So the next question I will be raising, maybe you can put your input to that. And I would also be requesting Dr. J.L. Meena, who can throw the light on this. Let us understand, what do we mean by access? And what is the objective of this access when it comes to COVID-19 vaccine? The COVID-19 vaccine means if we have to pray the circulation of COVID-19 virus, a minimum 80% of the country's population need to receive the vaccine, which means we have 1.3 billion people in this country, and 80% would be more than a billion population need to be vaccinated. So this is a challenge which is unprecedented. This has never happened for pulse polio program or any other vaccination or universal vaccination program we have talked. Now, 1 billion people need to be vaccinated. Then what is the timeline? Second thing is, if we have access to initial vaccine, I don't know how many doses will be required, 1 dose or 2 doses. What I learned from Dr. Jadhav, that we will get initially 200 million doses for India. 200 million doses means if it is a 2-dose vaccine, which means 100 million, which means 10 crore people as against the need for 100 crore people. So when it comes to access and achieving the goal of breaking the circulation of COVID-19 vaccine, estimating we are talking about 10% coverage to break the circulation of the vaccine. Now it requires funds, it requires supply chain support, it requires distribution, it requires all kind of like NGOs, government, non-government, private, public, partnership, everybody need to come on board and corporates to provide the access. So we need more vaccine and we need more budget. Globally, we have got say access to, or the not we don't have that access. $8.5 billion have been allocated to have access to this vaccine in emerging markets. I don't know how much India will get out of it. Number two, what is the kind of budget we have allocated for India? So the government can procure more doses of vaccine and can provide access. Followed by if it has to be provided in Indian market, I don't know, I read some time back, like a couple of days back, that the government is planning to cap the price like somewhere close to $1 a shot, say something like that. So with this, like over to Dr. Meena and Professor Bijon Misra, if you can comment on to this. Yeah. Over to you, sir. Dr. Meena. You are not audible, sir. I think if you can unmute. Sir, you are not audible. Can you check whether you are on? I think
I think his mic is not on.
Yeah. You are audible now, sir.
His mic is not connected, I think.
His mic is not connected.
His mic is.
Dr. Atul, his mic is not connected.
Ankit, can you look into this? And
can I come in the meantime?
Yeah, please, Professor Misra. Yeah. So the challenge is not like our past experience or past competencies. Now the challenge is humongous. It is we have access to say 200 million means doses for 10 crore people, and our requirement is 100 crore people. Yeah. Over to you, sir.
I know. And thank you. You know, that is what I said in my opening remark. Dr. Atul, if challenges were not there, you and me wouldn't have had a job. You know, we are there only because the challenges are there. So what I want to tell you quickly is the definition of accessibility. You know, you said, no, what is accessibility? Please define it. You see, for me, the definition of accessibility is I get the product at that time when I need it, not at your time when you want to reach it. Accessibility is I get it when I need it, and it is made available without any discrimination.
Yeah.
And this is how I define it. So the most important part is
100 crore people, they would need vaccine to break the circulation of this virus as per the experts. And we are going to have initially only 200 million doses, which means the doses only for 10 crore people. So there is going to be a gap of like say 100 crore people need as a access objective, and then we are our supply chain capacity is only 200 million doses. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I'll give you a correlation. It is just like our, you know, your below the poverty line, you know, PDS supplies. You know, the people who are into that list, who are below the poverty line in our country, which is of course around 23 to 24%. and we are talking about 10%. So what I would like to first say is that you have to make that target group very transparent and a criteria to ensure that these are the first 10% we are going to target.
No,
And
Professor
that criteria.
Professor Misra, I think you did not hear Dr. J.C. Sood. The core purpose of a pandemic or airborne disease, if you have to break the circulation of that virus, 80% of the population, irrespective whether they are high risk, moderate risk, low risk or no risk, either through the natural immunization, which we call as a natural herd immunity, versus immunity developed by giving the vaccination. 80% of the country's population, if it develops some or the other type of immunity, then only you overcome the disease. So it is not a question like 10% of high risk. No, then we will be struggling with COVID virus for the next 10 years. If we have to win against COVID-19, say in year 2021, then 100 crore people in this country need to be vaccinated.
No, so
once you finish, let me put in once Professor Mishra. Can I come in?
Yeah,
yes,
sure,
please
sure,
come
sure.
in because I didn't hear you. Please come in. I think he mentioned about you. Yeah.
Yeah, but Professor Mishra, of course, he is an authority in consumer concern and consumer rights. Mr. Atul Sharma, you are talking of 100 crore. Equation of vaccination probably is to be looked on a different scale. Today, even with Indradhanush, after independence, we are struggling with the vaccination of newborn, which we have now targeting 85% and more. And we are about to achieve after a classical program of Indradhanush. Now, you cannot compare a child newborn vaccination, or if you take polio, which was started in 1991, and polio has been a tremendous success in India because of one, reach, two, making it available. Now that no one believed in 1991 that India can eradicate polio in 20 years' time. No one believed it, and they did it in 15 years' time. Why? As Dr. Mishra says, that accessibility, reach, availability, accessibility and reach, if they do not go together, no program for the general public would be successful. 80% coverage is a very high figure for all population. You are to prioritize, go step by step. Enough vaccines are being now tried in different locations all along Western countries, Europe. So vaccine, like Professor Dr. Jadhav said, their capacity is so, they have increasing the capacity to an extent that they would be one of the biggest producers probably worldwide, which they are today for some other vaccines. Now, that cannot be available on one date. It will happen.
Saying day one, if it is a year one, or it will take 2 years, or it takes 10 years, then we get an orientation by which year we will be able to control this.
Well, it doesn't mean that if you can vaccinate or give a shot to 80% of people, you are 80% of people. Vaccination is out of dream, out of question at a go.
Yeah. We will also see the natural herd immunity. We will also get
that's
natural.
What by that time it will
but
come.
I think let us listen
there
from
will be a lot of options,
because he's an insider, and then we would have an idea that 65,000 crore rupees are global fund, what is the local funds, and what are the government of India plans to provide access to COVID-19 vaccine. We can hear to Dr. J.L. Meena.
Yeah, good evening to everybody. Are you audible, sir?
You are, audible, sir.
Yeah, good, sir. So first of all, thanks for your invitation, sir. The important things after the Dr. Suresh, Dr. Dave and Suri and Misra sir, they already provide the information related to the vaccines, how it's available. I think so, most of the time it's available on the end of this December or mid of the 2021. The biggest challenge, as you know, the vaccine is how to give these vaccines to the accessibility. The first important thing is if any program, if you success any program, one the important thing is the strong governance. But nowadays, I think it's not a big issue because at that times our government is very transparent and strong. So the challenge is not the strong government or transparency. The another important thing is the finance related issues. But finance, we have the sufficient financial uh, providers. It's not a big issue for the finance. And the biggest challenge in India is the supply chain management. Uh, but the important thing is because we already have the universal health programs. So our most of the healthcare providers, they are well trained in the cold chain maintenance. They are also give the vaccinations. Number of the vaccination is there for the newborn cares, for the pregnant women and others, and they are well trained. So especially when you provide these vaccines to the needy persons, but the important thing is the phase wise because only one times cannot you received a number of the doses. It's a doses coming according to the phase wise manners. So we will prioritize that which population is covered first and then according to the next steps. So I think WHO is already signed MOU with the, it's already planned the plan for the distribution. First of all, beneficiaries like the more than 65 ages with the community or healthcare providers, we will give first vaccines to in the first phase. And after that, we are starting for the another second phase vaccinations. The important things for the trainings related, the training for the healthcare workers, vaccine, especially the cold chain maintenance, we have the sufficient cold chain equipment also, but yes, still we need the gap assessments. And the important thing is the IT system is there. Dr. Misra is also already say that the what is the feedback mechanism and other things. But the important thing is in the universal healthcare programs, we have the strong IT systems, especially in the universal health program also, in the Aishman Bharat also, we have the strong IT systems which take the feedback of the beneficiaries, also the direct call centers to take the feedback from the beneficiaries also. So if the availability, after the availability of the vaccines, especially in the India, I think it's not a big issue. But yes, we need some strong actions. We need more hard work for provide this vaccine within time limit, because time is also very important, so that a number of people is satisfied.
So Dr. Meena, I have like some added question.
Atulji, before you ask the question, can I ask my colleague Ankit to please formally introduce Dr. Meena and Professor Banerjee, their profile, please, quickly in 2 minutes we can do that. Ankit,
please, Ankit, do so. Yeah.
So we have merged the two sessions, so I'll introduce the second session panelists. So we have with us Dr. Chandrakant Pandav. He is president of ICC IBB and leading global health expert. He's the founder member of the regional coordinator for South Asia of International Council for Control of Iodine Deficiency Disorders since 1985. Dr. Pandav was former president of Indian Association of Preventive and Social Medicine for the year 2007 and 8. He has been working in the areas of iodine deficiency disorder, micronutrients, health system research, health economics, health policy, health program evaluation, PPP, and human rights issues. Then we have with us Dr. G.L. Meena. He is Joint Director at National Health Authority, Government of India. He is working in quality healthcare service since 2002 in the public healthcare sector and working as a State Quality Assurance Officer, Government of Gujarat and DGM, GM, Hospital Networking and Quality Assurance, National Health Authority, ABPMJ, Government of India. Dr. Meena is member of NABH Accreditation Committee, Quality Council of India, and also a member of Quality Improvement Program, Expert Group, Health and Family Welfare Department, Government of India. And we have with us Professor Dr. Mitav Banerjee. Professor Amitabh joined Dr. D.Y. Patil Medical College, Pune in 2005. Since 2012, he took over the editor-in-chief of Medical Journal of Dr. D.Y. Patil Vidyapeeth. As editor-in-chief, he has reached out to more than 4,000 expert reviewers from over 90 countries. Dr. Amitabh strives toward encouraging young researchers to showcase their academic work for a global audience, which is the mission of the journal towards excellence. Over to you, Abhishek.
So my question was to Dr. Meena. Is it possible, if it is in a public domain, if it is comfort to you, that do we have any idea what kind of funds the government of India is allocating to combat COVID-19? Dr. Meena, your mic is
Dr. Meena, you have to unmute, sir.
You have to unmute your mic, yeah.
Still on mute.
So I can by the time, like I raise under the paucity of the time, the questions to Dr. Amitabh Banerjee and then Dr. Panda, because they are community disease experts and they have the humongous experience and they are the veteran in this field. Say any public health issue and which is like unprecedented like COVID-19. I think there have been a kind of a like big debate. We know like until we have the access to, there would be some amount of natural herd immunity will be developed by some population, but the large population is still does not have the immunity and the virus will continue to proliferate or circulate in the society and we will continue to have the problem related to COVID-19. Vaccination is a promising step. And I was going like, I'm not quoting that what will be the percentage by natural herd immunity, what will be the immunization or immunity we will develop by using the vaccines. But both of them put together, we should have 80% of the population should have natural or acquired immunity. So, and I was quoting those numbers and the challenges that say 1 billion people need to develop either a natural herd immunity or acquired immunity through vaccination program. So do we have like kind of like the government program where there is a partnerships are already explained, the protocols are in place, policy documents are in place, the alliances with the global local NGOs and global fundings are in place in terms of procurement, distribution, and vaccination of at least like the high-risk people. So the first I would request Dr. Amitabh Banerjee and then followed by Dr. Panda, please.
Thank you, Mr. Atul. Actually, what I feel is we are going for the end game at the beginning of the game. Actually, this 80% herd immunity or vaccination is for eradication of a disease. Initially, when we are confronted with a disease, we try to control it and we try to prevent the mortality. First, we should be happy with bringing down the death rate. Fortunately, our death rate is very low. And since if we have a limited resources, we should prioritize on the high risk group that above 65 years with comorbidities. And we bring down the death rate. And in the meanwhile, the young people will be, they are not susceptible. It is very low. Mortality is very low in young people. And eradication is at the end game, and it is not possible. I don't think any country will be able to eradicate COVID within 2 years, 3 years. It took smallpox 200 years after vaccine. It took 15 years for polio. So it is a very, very unrealistic. If you try to go and try to make the king in the beginning, you will lose the whole game and it will be chaos. And as for the cost factor, this other Poonawalla recently tweeted that to vaccinate the whole population, we will require rupees 80,000 crores of rupees will be required to vaccinate the whole population. And our health budget is 69,000 crores. So what about the other diseases? What about the other vaccines which are already available? We are losing 2,000 children every day, under 5 children. So aren't we having greater health problems? And if we're going for a COVID where our death rate is comparatively low because of a low, so we should prioritize on the elderly, above 65 with comorbidities, health workers, and other essential workers. So we should be reasonably, and by that time we will know the safety of the vaccine also. It won't be very, very pragmatic to immediately vaccinate children. Also, we don't know the safety in children. The trials are being done in adults. So if there are any side effects, the risk to children, we have to see the risk-harm ratio. The risk to children is very low from the normal COVID. And risk of vaccination, we do not know. So let the vaccine be given to a select group of people. Once we know how it unfolds, then only we should go for eradication. We have got a vaccine against H1N1. We have not eradicated it. Still, we do not have 80% coverage of H1N1 vaccine. So why we are in a so hurry to go for COVID eradication?
Thank you very much. Dr. Pandey, do you have to say something or add? Yeah.
Many things.
Yes, sir.
Number one, I think we are talking of corona. In my humble, it's a pandemic of nonsense. Pandemic of nonsense. Evidence is deaths due to corona from January to September are only 2%. And we are giving 98% of attention to corona. So it's a pandemic of nonsense we are discussing. Number two, we are barking at the wrong tree. We are talking about vaccine, live vaccine and attenuated vaccine. Nobody is talking about social vaccine. We don't talk about sustainability. We talk of quick fixes. Our attitude is trying to address most expensive things. That's the human nature. The basic principle of epidemiology or addressing any pandemic is primary prevention, secondary prevention, and tertiary prevention. So we seem to excel in mopping the floor and not turning the tap. This is globally. I think the world is getting rebooted because of this story. Next point, tell me how many crores you have spent on spreading the simple message of wearing the mask. I'm sorry to say that they still continue to use the word social distancing. To me, this is the most asocial, antisocial, harsh, derogatory word in our country. It's physical distancing. And I've told many times on this forum. Social distancing in India means you are untouchable. So this coronavirus has created a new class of untouchability. As it is, India has a lot of problems due to caste. Corona positive, corona negative. We have never focused our attention on hand washing. Never so before. We never focused on physical distancing. I just calculated in India, with population of 1.38 billion and our area, each person would get about 2 square meters. So we're at least in terms of assuming that we're distributed equally on Indian surface, we can maintain physical distancing. This is an hypothetical thing, but in real life, there is aggregation. So in conclusion, I would like to say that 200 days have passed. We are talking of pandemic of nonsense, a disease which is causing 2% of deaths while neglecting the 98%. Number two, we will continue to focus on mopping the floor rather than turning the tap. Number three, we have not spent sufficient resources. We are going to spend 90,000 crores on vaccine. I think we have spent 9,000 crores on communication, behavioral change activities. And finally, all this has happened because the government has chosen to take advice from the fish, the clinicians. Fish is very good at swimming and rabbit is very good at running. So the fish is out of the water and advising the government. That's why we reached this stage today. For the rabbits, rabbits are epidemiologists, public health specialists, behavioral scientists, management experts, logistic experts. Where do they appear in the TV or the media? Who are the people who have holding places of prominence? There is none of the public health specialists in this area. That's why we have created a grave in India because we're asking the fish to advise how to run. That's why I would conclude. My appeal to the Honorable Prime Minister and to the whole nation is, this is the time to take a collective action. We already dug the grave too deep. Only thing is that don't let the remaining mitti put on the grave. Take a collective decision now and urgently to stop this pandemic of nonsense and stop working as a wrong tree.
Thank you. Wonderful, sir. Wonderful, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, sir.
I would request our co-moderator Pawan to put a question to Dr. Banerjee.
Can I do before that the sum up of Dr. Banerjee and
No, sir, I'm coming to that, sir. So Pawan has one question for Dr. Banerjee. Then if you can do a sum up with all the panelists.
Sure. So
Dr.
over to Pawan and then I'll do that. Yeah.
And Dr. Jadhav, if you can do a sum up with all of them. Pawan, yeah, please.
Great session. I mean, I've been listening to all the experts and just had an amazing input in terms of all forms of right from accessibility to where we stand in terms of the vaccine. I just thought I'll put in one word, very interesting, before I ask the question. I think the fair access to the, ensuring fair access to the vaccine is not a matter of equity. It's the fastest way to end the pandemic. So I think vaccine is the most important thing. And herd immunity, as someone who's talking about, is never a strategy. It's an outcome. It's like, if you want to put out the forest fire, if I just let 70% of the forest fire burn to ensure the blaze dies out, is what is the strategy we're looking at right now. I think to get herd immunity, we need to have the vaccine out and quickly. So coming back to the question, one is obviously the most important aspect of what we are talking right now is the financial and the accessibility, the conundrum as far as COVID is concerned. I would like Dr. Banerjee to basically come in with a little bit about what percentage of population, will have access to this vaccine once it's out. One is right now when we're talking about it's coming in, and what will happen when it comes out. So I just thought I'll put in that word. What percentage of the population will generally have access to vaccine in India? Professor Banerjee, sir.
As per this international agreement with WHO, Gavi, Bill and Melinda Gates, COVAX as Act, actually they want to ensure, first of all, we do not have a vaccine at present. Once it is scaled up, first it has to pass. We are talking hypothetical as on today. Once it scales up and the vaccine is available, they have made a sort of a consensus that all countries should receive at least 20% of its population. So, if all the countries of the world receive 20%, then only other countries will have excess vaccine. So if we take 20% of our population, we will have about 30 crore people we will have access. Of 30 crore people will have access to vaccine. With this 30 crore, we have to prioritize. And by default, whether we like it or not, we will have to prioritize which are the likely to die from the COVID. That would be the high risk group, above 65, healthcare workers, with people with comorbidities. So whether we like it or not, recently I heard a lot of criticism of you must have heard of the Great Barrington Declaration. Actually, whether you like it or not, this vaccine strategy and the Great Barrington Declaration are going in the same direction. How? Like Great Barrington Declaration says you protect the elderly. At present, they don't have the vaccine, so you protect the elderly, isolate the elderly, and let the young people go and carry on with their normal duties, schooling and other job. So same thing when we have the vaccine also, 30 crores in India will have the vaccine. We have to prioritize. We will give it to the elderly. We will protect the elderly and the vulnerable, and other people we will let them carry on because we won't have that much of vaccine to cover them. And it will work. Whether it is the Great Barrington Declaration or whether it's a vaccine, we are going in the same direction. Because of there is no way. I mean, even if you have the money, there is no way to manufacture and distribute so many vaccines. We have 60-70% of the normal vaccines. So since ages we are doing with all cold chain and other things. So it is just not feasible. I mean, we will just mess it up.
So can I ask Professor Bijol Mishra to sum up his thought for today's session, sir? Professor Mishra, please. So you're on mute. So you're on mute. Mute it.
Yeah. Thank you. Sorry to remind. I was quite, as usual, Dr. Pandav always comes out with very robust solutions. So I was very happy to listen to him. We have been chatting on phone. I had not seen him for a long time. He looks the same and he speaks the same language. So what I want to sum up by saying is that When you talk about prioritization, Dr. Banerjee, as he mentioned, my only thinking is that if you prioritize and you bring a criteria, make it a consultative process where you understand that everybody agreed that this is the priority, not that you alone, stand alone, you decide who is to get and who is not to get. That's number one. Number two, once you prioritize, then you have to make sure that they are made accessible. There is no diversion, there is no misuse. All that aspects has to be taken care. And today, technology is the biggest enabler which can make it happen. And it can make it transparent so that everybody can come to know at their doorstep that if I am identified to be a beneficiary, I have got it. And I've got it not by running from pillar to post. I got it at that time when I needed it and when I was free to get it and access it. So it is made very kind of accessible. So I would like to close by saying there are a number of experts in our country, as Dr. Pandav mentioned, who are rabbits. It's better to get them involved rather than the fishes. So I would always ensure that the right people are there to advise in the right manner, and a group of people are made accountable in terms of delivery. Whether it is private sector, whether it's NGO, everybody who is accessing that resource, which is a scarce resource globally, are made accountable in terms of the delivery. And if they are not doing that, then their heads must roll. You see, you cannot give excuses that I couldn't do it because of this, because of that. No. So we have to have a well laid out plan, very transparent and very accountable to ensure that it is as per the protocol, as per the standard in terms of cold chain, in terms of ensuring quality at the last mile at the user end. This is what I would like to sum up by saying.
Wonderful, sir. So you mean that definitely it should be consultative, in the process should be consultative. Technology should also be used at the best, and the right kind of experts are brought in. With Dr. Pandav has been talking about it in last 10, 12 webinars, and he's been forcefully conveying this message. Hopefully it's reaching the right place or not, we don't know. Atulji, if you can also put the last
First of
question to
all,
Mr. Dev. And then I have got a couple of questions and final lasting remarks from Dr. Jadhav. But if you can,
just like to say summarize, and then we can have a small Q&A. I would like to first thank Samir Deb for bringing up and telling us the timelines and the status of the clinical development, and then closeness towards the regulatory approval or marketing approval of various vaccines which are under development. Followed by Dr. Suresh Jadhav, where we know we have a promising vaccine development, manufacturing and distribution capabilities. Like if it was not a COVID-19, it would look unprecedented, exceptional achievement. It's huge, humongous, but we still know the disease and the challenges are still more humongous than our escalated even capacities. So we know so it gives us a confidence that initially when we go by step-by-step approach as suggested by Dr. Amitabh Banerjee, that it is not that you look for a 80% overall immunity, whether it's a natural herd immunity or acquired vaccinated immunity. It will go step by step. Like initially we take the high-risk patient followed by blah, blah, blah. And even then, when I'm looking into, say, the first vaccines, India allocation close to 200 to 300 million doses. I know there will be access to multiple vaccines sooner, and each vaccine would have a similar kind of manufacturing facility and would help us in terms of having a greater access to provide very quickly, say in year 1 or 2, that all high-risk patients and healthcare workers especially get vaccinated.
So before we have the final remark from Dr. Pandav, there's a lot of common man questions from Dr. Jadhav.
Now we put on to the questions here.
Yeah. Questions, sir, and very specific questions to you, sir.
So
it's a very important statement from you as Serum Institute, one of the leading players and the face of vaccination in India. And Mr. Sharma said that now globally also that's true. So, sir, what is the confidence like? Because in between there's been news coming in with respect to the trials failing or some patients falling ill. Then there is a pause, there is some withdrawal with respect to the progress, with respect to the trial. So what is the confidence, as well as the timeline with confidence, what you can say that the vaccine, at least from Serum Institute where you belong to, will be on the ground by this time?
Yeah, I think we have seen certain pauses and the trial was stopped for certain time, maybe in India almost about 2 weeks. And it is still extended because I think some regulators wanted to add some additional indications in the people who are being recruited for this phase 3. So it is being delayed by at least about 3 weeks. So taking into that account only, I have said that we will be able to submit all the data to regulators by end of December. And if that happens, then we expect in about a month's time, it may be a EUL, that is emergency use license, or if DCGI is satisfied with the data that he sees, he may give us the marketing authorization. Once that happens, then we will have to go to WHO for WHO pre-qualification. Because unless your regulator license the product, WHO will not give WHO pre-qualification and the international agencies will not procure it. So whether it is Gavi, CEPI, UNICEF, FAO, nobody will buy the vaccine unless it is WHO pre-qualified. That also will take certain time. We are trying to see whether we can proceed simultaneously with the DCGI and with WHO so that this process can be sort of streamlined and timelines could be reduced. Hopefully this should happen before the first quarter of 2021, and that's the time when the vaccine will be available. I would like to make a comment about this 80% and the requirement of the people. Fortunately in India, if you see, we have got almost about 55 to 60% of our population is below 50 years of age. And as rightly said by Professor Banerjee, that the clinical trials which has been done so far, they are in the age group of 18 to 55 and above. Okay, so the data which will be available when the products were licensed or will be licensed is only for the use in 18 onwards. And that's make our life much easier. So all the young population below 18 may not be included. It's only the Pfizer vaccine which is being now tried in United States in an age group of 12 to 18. So they have reduced that up to 12 years of age. The WHO has already issued guidance, and according to what I saw in the press by Shri Harshvardhan ji, that we have also finalized our strategy. Our first people who will get the vaccine are the health workers. Okay, so all doctors, all paramedics, all nurses, they will be the first one because they come in contact with the patients. So they needs to be protected. The number 2 will be the people 60 plus with comorbidities. So that's the age group which will be number 2 in line. And then we can come down age-wise to go down, because by that time we will have some data even on the lower age group in which the vaccine has not been tried so far. So as far as vaccine use is concerned, I think Professor Banerjee again said that almost about 369 million doses are used in our EPI program. According to me, much more are used. Because in India, almost about 128 million children are born. And even if we consider 80% are being immunized, it's almost about 110 million children who are immunized with at least 7 different vaccines, starting from polio, hepatitis B, BCG, pentavalent vaccine, rotavirus vaccine, measles, MR, and that kind of thing. Unfortunately, the experience that government has is immunizing children. We do not have the type of experience which is required to immunize adults. And as this vaccine is required by adults, we will have to have some kind of expertise to get the adults in line, attend the immunization camps, and get the vaccine to start with. So that kind of educational program needs to be implemented by the government to sensitize the population that this will be available for elderly to start with and for health workers to start with. They are all adults and the vaccine will be given to them.
So it means, sir, you mean to say that we can confidently say from your perspective that if everything goes the way your plan, the vaccine should be available by March 2021, sir?
Yes. Yes.
That is
Q2,
yes.
beginning Q2.
If the result of phase 3 comes positive and they are accepted by our regulators, yes, it should be there.
And sir, in totality, what is another big question which comes to a lot of people's mind? What is the total, like Serum Institute has committed a few million numbers. What is the total in India from various commitments? What do you see the total availability by, say, first half by June 2021 in India, sir?
See, as I mentioned earlier, our contract is with the Gavi to supply them, say, 100 million of doses of Chadox, that is AstraZeneca and Oxford vaccine, and another 100 million by Novavax. Whatever vaccine that we'll be making with our technology, there is no contract. So all those vaccines can be made available to the Indian population completely. For the vaccines which are made or which are contracted for Gavi supply, only 50% will be available for India and 50% for Gavi. Today, we are a member of UN, India as such. We cannot say that whatever I make in India, I'm going to use in India. And this COVAX or COVID situation is not India specific. It is a world specific. It has affected 7.5 billion people of the world. So we cannot say that I'm going to only immunize and look after my 1.3.8 billion population and I'm going to forget about others. We get money, we get technology, we get scientific inputs from all other organizations, and it becomes our moral responsibility also to help them and participate in the global sort of efforts. So we cannot have thinking only India related, we have to think global.
Got it, sir.
Yeah, absolutely.
At this moment, it is complex, sir. But is it possible to give you some number of the number of vaccines available by June 2021, sir? Some numbers, keeping in mind all these restrictions, limitations.
No, but Dr. Srivastav, as I told you, on 12th of this month, that is 3 days back, Honorable Health Minister has made a report to the Cabinet Committee, making it very clear that they are going to make available 400 to 450 million dosages made available, and intention is to cover 20 to 25 million people by mid 2021.
Yes.
Very categorical.
That is very important.
Very categorical. Yes,
that's very promising. That's very promising.
Which
as far as Serum Institute is concerned, as I told you, by December, we will have at least about 60-70 million doses ready. And as soon as we get the permission, we will kick off our production at the rate of almost about 50 to 60 million per month thereafter. Because this is not something where you can stock millions of doses. There is no cold room or there is no infrastructure with us or with the government to stock that vaccine. And it's not only Serum Institute. In India, as I told you, there are 3 other manufacturers who are also in line. There is Bharat Biotech, there is Cadila, there is Biological E, who are also developing their vaccines. And that's the reason why the health minister has said jointly from all other manufacturers, they will make this procurement and this vaccine of about 450 million doses by June 2021, they will utilize. So it is not going to happen immediately. It is going to happen month by month so that they reach that figure.
So last question, sir, from a lot of our viewers. is that you yourself said that general vaccine development process takes 10 to 12 years, and
Right.
you are trying to do it in 5 to 6 months, 8 months now.
Yeah.
So do you think anywhere as Serum Institute and as a vaccine development community that the safety of the vaccines would also get, quality and safety both would can get compromised? Any chances, or those precautions have been taken care of?
See, from my experience as a scientist, I can say that if you are confident about the quality and safety, you have won more than 50% of battle. And today, almost all the manufacturers, when they have gone into clinical trial for phase 3, their endpoint is 50% efficacy. Okay? Because if the vaccine is safe, immediately by the time you finish your phase 3 trial, you have a data on those volunteers who had taken phase 1. They have already completed 6 to 8 months. So that data is available to you from safety to see that the longevity of that safety, and there are no other complications during that period. Similarly, even with the phase 3 studies, you will have a data of at least 6 months available with you before you get your license. The data that you don't have at the moment is efficacy. And that's the reason why the vaccine takes 8 to 10 years, is about 3 to 4 years go only in studying the efficacy of that vaccine. Efficacy you will know only after you take the vaccine, you wait for the next season, because so far we have not faced a problem like COVID, where COVID is continuing. Whereas all other products, what we have faced in the past, like influenza or Ebola, they were mainly seasonal, or even SARS or MERS, which are the very related to the COVID vaccine. And that's why the Oxford has made a vaccine for MERS. They have tested it up to phase 2. They had gone to phase 3, but then they stopped it because by that time MERS has vanished. So there was no demand for the MERS vaccine. But it is the same technology, same backbone they have used to make the COVID vaccine. And that's why we feel that it is going to be quite successful. But to make a very positive statement on the efficacy, it will take some time. We will have to wait at least for 1 or 2 years to see how long the immunity lasts and how long those patients resist getting the COVID even in future if the COVID continues.
So one thing is very positive from with this development. Definitely, what we can say that if this vaccine doesn't takes time to kill COVID, but it will definitely help in killing the fear of COVID, the fear
Yes.
around COVID. As a
Yeah.
placebo itself, it will help in killing the fear of it.
Placebo, that will be too much.
Dr.
Dr. Pandam.
Dr.
Yeah,
Srivastava.
yeah,
Dr.
Dr.
Srivastava.
Sir, please. Sir.
It is sorry, Dr. Pandav, just one example.
Yes, sir.
See, it is on, and we are seeing more people had died out of flu in 2019. And how many people in my country gets vaccinated against flu? Right? What Dr. Jadhav mentioned. See, at the moment we are in the fire, right? So we are all so much conscious that we should get vaccine, right? But demarcation, prioritization, and transparency is the key factor. Please don't think all vaccines will be made available. All people around the country will get a shot within 2 months' time. The vaccine doesn't work, or vaccination doesn't work like that.
Got it. So the final remark from Dr. Pandav, then Atul sir can conclude the whole program.
Pradeep, I just want to make 3 points. Number 1, I totally disagree with you when you say that the vaccine will remove the fear. In fact, this is not a corona pandemic. This is the pandemic of fear, pandemic of misery, pandemic of migrants. So I disagree with you on that statement that the vaccine availability, the biological vaccine will remove the pandemic of fear. That requires behavioral sciences intervention. So my next point is there should be a vaccine for attitude, which requires a package of behavioral intervention. Currently, we are still struggling with Jurassic Park attitude. That has to change. When your attitude changes, your behavior will change. Number 3, I consider we seem to be shy from learning from success. Thailand has handled the most important part by a story called the triangle that moves the mountain. Now, which are the 3 angles of the triangle? It's the statesmanship, society, and scientist. I'm very proud to have Narendra Modi as my Prime Minister because he has played a statesmanship attitude in addressing Corona. Swachh Bharat Mission, Swasth Bharat Mission, Rashtriya Poshan Mission, Ayushman Bhav. The kind of package of intervention he has done is remarkable. I call him as the hero public health. I call Mr. Narendra Modi as the public health practitioner, not of the century, but of the millennium. My friend Bijoy Mishra talked of the society. What has been the society's role in terms of addressing the corona? Zero. We are a democracy. We have never asked for people. And the most miserable people who have held are the scientists. The fish that is advising the government in how to run the maze. So this is a story where scientists, fish has miserably betrayed the nation. The corrective action has to be taken.
Professor Mishra, can you, sir, give a comment on the fear part of it? So what is your view on this? The COVID fear, sir.
You see, when people do not find a kind of a communication which can console them, that fear comes in, because they feel lost. So there is always a great need for counseling, which is highly, like Dr. Panda said, he is an authority in community healthcare in the country. And we all know where the primary healthcare is today. There is nobody. There is nobody to lend, that counseling at that point of time where he needs it at the doorstep. So the issue is strong counseling from people whom they believe and trust. And that's missing. The doctors are not there in the villages. Nobody wants to go and work there. So we'll have to develop a good, robust system where we are talking about health and wellness center. Where the Prime Minister is talking about that. Where are those 1.5 lakh health and wellness center made functional under Ayushman Bharat? We want to see that. And that is going to be the backbone in terms of making such missions successful, in terms of, taking away that fear from the people. Today, the people get scared because they don't know what they're going to go. Who's going to come to help them? You see, every day people call up that they're just praying that he doesn't get hospitalized. Because they know that if they get hospitalized, they had it. They're pushed below the poverty line. Because there's nobody there. There's no universal health coverage. You only talk about it. So the fear can only get away when you have very good, tangible, practices being adopted on the ground level, which people can feel. And as I said, I'm again repeating, good feedback mechanisms. If they are not there, if somebody is not lending the shoulder, then people must know that all these efforts are going down the drain. So we have to make sure that fear can come out only by giving them that confidence that we are there with you 24/7. My Jago Grahak Jago campaign, the Jago Grahak Jago, out of your and my money, has fundamentally only empowered the consumer to bring out that fear that you are not alone, we are all there together. So that is what I'm trying to say. These are some of the very good success models which can happen in the country if they're serious about it.
Thank you, sir. Atul sir, please, sir, for concluding.
So I think we had a brilliant evening. We had like tremendous amount of insights captured from the experts from the various fields. My personal opinion, when I'm summing it up, historically, we have never seen, say, something like which was unprecedented. Last year, same time, we were completely clueless about COVID-19. We thought like it is an alien disease somewhere, not in a part of our country. We saw it's coming to India. We saw that pandemic like worldwide. We saw mortality, we saw morbidity, we saw global lockdown. And today, say, in 1 year time, like when we are talking about this, we are very close to developing a vaccine against this. We are very close to receive the marketing authorization. We have geared up, like, which is very tangible, which is like for the first time, like, which is happening. We are ready with the manufacturing capabilities, not only to support India, but to support 140 countries worldwide. And we are by and large like thoroughly prepared in terms of like allocating budgets, prioritizing like which population need to be vaccinated, what will be our stepwise approach, step 1, 2, 3. So say beginning Q2 2021. So beginning Q2 2021 is 23rd March was the lockdown date, and 23rd March, what we hear from Dr. Suresh is we are likely to take the vaccine to the market. Is a very, very tangible, positive achievement for a global pandemic disease like COVID-19. I would personally like to say hats off to everybody who has worked into this space, whether they were in strategy, R&D, or development, and bringing collective information on this platform. So thank you very, very much to each one of you for your valuable inputs, status update, strategies, and way forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank
Thanks
you.
a lot.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.